Let's examine this $10 latte. Isn't it a lovely golden colour? That bright yellow hue comes from a root called turmeric. Wellness gurus claim a daily dose of turmeric aligns your internal chakras. And heaven knows the last thing you need is misaligned chakras. Indian Ayurvedic medicine does indeed use the root to balance your life forces. But Western influencers rarely let ancient medical practice get in the way of a good marketing campaign. Now, I need you to look at the neon yellow mustard smeared on this cheap hot dog. The sunny colour is exactly the same as the stuff in your pricey latte. It's edible makeup for cheap cheese. And we willingly pay a massive premium to drink a mug of it. Here's the irony: your body completely rejects the spice. Without black pepper, I'll come back to that, it slides straight through your digestive tract like a tourist on a water slide. It's just an expensive way to turn your pee bright yellow. But the scam goes much deeper than an overpriced coffee shop. This yellow root managed to fool the entire British Empire. It sparked an international legal battle over basic common sense, and it's currently crushing the hard-working Indian farmers who grow it. How did a simple Bronze Age dye pull off a global con of this magnitude? Before it was a trendy latte, turmeric was just a little root minding its own business. For millennia, it was smeared over brides and grooms in Hindu haldi ceremonies for luck. It was an intimate, deeply sacred community tradition. So naturally, it was asking to be stripped of all cultural meaning and monetized. Long before anyone tried to drink it, cloth makers used it to colour silk, using alkaline chemicals to glue the bright yellow dye to the fabric permanently. Today, modern food manufacturers pull the same trick on a massive scale. Vast vats of industrial solvents extract the yellow pigment from the root. It's then reduced to a thick sludge with harsh chemicals like acetone, and machines purify the sludge into highly concentrated crystals, leaving behind a radioactive-looking powder. It goes without saying that if there was any romance left here, European bureaucrats would step in and ruin it. Why use an ancient name when you can suck the joy out of it with a sterile code? So this powder was stamped with an official government license number. They named it E100. By law, E100 must be 90% pure colour. Western food companies pump 500 milligrams of it into every kilogram of cheap processed cheese, squeezy mustard, and the sort of jaundiced margarine that comes in a massive plastic tub. Why? Because consumers have been conditioned not to find grey cheese appetizing. That would be despair on a cracker. Bright yellow cheddar is much more photogenic. Ripping off a foreign culture to sell a bright yellow lie is, of course, a very old trick. This particular culinary scam began in Georgian England, and it started, inexplicably, in a perfume shop. The cultural degradation kicked off in 1747. A British writer named Hannah Glass published a recipe for making curry the India way, which she wrote with all the authority of someone who had never actually set foot in India. If you were to stroll down Piccadilly in London in 1784, you'd eventually stumble across Sawley's Perfumery Warehouse. They sold soap, scent, and a strange new lifestyle product, curry powder. A perfume shop selling cooking ingredients is undeniably unexpected. Would Sir like something for the wrists? Or the stew? This aromatic mixture proved immensely popular with a public eager to taste the exotic romance of the empire, provided it came in a tin. Complex recipes were unfamiliar to the average Georgian cook, for whom mashed turnip was about as sophisticated as it got. Rather than expect a British cook to toast and assemble actual spices, an activity bordering on witchcraft to a palate raised on boiled cabbage, merchants invented a shortcut to the flavours of a subcontinent. Proper Indian cooking relies on heating whole spices in hot fat to unlock deep, volatile flavour compounds. The British shortcut bypassed this crucial step entirely. They just dump the pre-mixed powder directly into the pot, resulting in a bland slop which was to curry what a kazoo solo is to a Beethoven symphony. To compensate for the blandness, they packed the tin with cheap turmeric, which turned the food violently, unapologetically yellow. This bizarre obsession with the colour yellow never went away. Fast forward to the 21st century, modern consumers still demand their spices look unnaturally bright. A few years ago in Bangladesh, distributors responded to this pressure by crossing a horrifying line. They began dusting the turmeric roots with lead chromate to fake that visual demand. We became so obsessed with the aesthetic of our dinner that we began eating heavy metals, all so our curry would glow in the dark. Sadly, culinary ignorance was only the first crime against this root. Eventually, the modern wellness industry discovered it, and before they could market it as a miracle cure, they had to figure out how to sneak it past a digestive system that actively hates it. Walk into any trendy wellness cafe in Venice Beach, you'll see people paying astronomical prices for golden milk. They swallow raw turmeric capsules to combat joint pain. But the human body treats this spice like a hostile intruder. The active molecule, curcumin, is terrible at entering the bloodstream. Animal studies show less than 1% actually absorbs. The rest just bounces off your intestinal wall. Your liver treats it like gone-off milk and pours it straight down the drain. Then your kidneys flush it out, and you literally pee the profits away. Curcumin shows massive engagement in a laboratory Petri dish, but it fails to show up in your blood. Scientists eventually found a workaround using black pepper. Pepper temporarily shuts down your liver's detox enzymes. This forces the curcumin directly into your system. But the wellness industry's answer to the absorption issue triggered a new problem. The UK Committee on Toxicity reviewed these pepper-boosted supplements and found they carry a hidden risk. They can occasionally poison your liver. By forcing the body to absorb something it naturally rejects, we've created a very expensive stomachache. Yet, despite this biological uselessness, the American government heard there was an unguarded foreign resource. They treated an ancient Indian spice much like somebody else's oil field. They marched in, planted a flag, and decided they legally owned it. In 1995, the US Patent Office made an embarrassing mistake. They granted a medical patent to scientists Suman Das and Harihar Kohli, who worked at the University of Mississippi Medical Center. The patent claimed the exclusive right to use turmeric to heal wounds. It takes a special kind of arrogance to do that. You almost have to admire the nerve. The duo had filled out some paperwork in Mississippi claiming legal ownership of a practice used by 1 billion people since the Bronze Age. The Indian government was understandably furious. The Council of Scientific and Industrial Research took immediate action, but they couldn't just say the patent was ridiculous. They had to prove prior knowledge to the American lawyers. This is where the mechanism of bureaucracy was shown to have broken down. Western patent search databases couldn't read ancient Sanskrit, so Washington bureaucrats assumed the knowledge simply didn't exist. Indian researchers spent 2 painful years gathering documents, compiling 32 separate historical texts across multiple languages, and translating ancient Ayurvedic texts to prove an obvious point. Grandmothers in Delhi had been slapping turmeric plasters on grazed knees for millennia. In 1997, the US patent was finally revoked, but the incident had made the Indian government realize their cultural heritage was vulnerable. American copyright lawyers could steal their history with a rubber stamp. So they built the traditional knowledge digital library. Oral history was converted into patent searchable data to stop men in suits from stealing spices. While the lawyers packed away their briefcases in Washington, the story wasn't over. The people actually pulling the root out of the ground were facing a much grimmer reality. India produces nearly 3/4 of the global turmeric supply, which in 2023 meant churning out over 1 million tons of it. You'd assume the farmers cultivating this trendy global superfood would be rolling in cash, or at least able to afford their own overpriced lattes. Instead, they're trapped at the bottom of a brutal supply chain. Growing this crop is backbreaking, filthy manual labour. Once yanked from the earth, the knobbly roots must be rigorously cured in massive boiling vats to remove the raw smell and lock in that famous yellow hue. Historically, this boiling process required a generous helping of cow dung. Somewhere in Venice Beach, A wealthy influencer in spotless athletic wear is cradling a $10 latte, blissfully aligning her chakras with a root traditionally stewed in excrement. That's a detail your local barista conveniently leaves off the cafe chalkboard. Today, these farmers face crippling price swings dictated by commodity brokers sitting comfortably in air-conditioned offices thousands of miles away. Export markets demand pristine, unblemished roots, and if a batch fails a strict quality test, it gets unceremoniously binned. Of course, it's not the wealthy commodity brokers who carry the financial risk for this absurd cosmetic perfection. It's the farmers. This, dear viewer, is the way of the world. Intending to fix the blatant injustice, the Indian government introduced a digital market portal called eNam. The idea was to magically modernize the trade. Instead, it created a catastrophic technological traffic jam. In recent years, farmers in Nizamabad have taken to the streets in protest because they couldn't sell their crops. The invisible hand of the global market collapsed, defeated by a dodgy Wi-Fi connection. This is the depressing modern reality. Western wellness gurus rake in cash, posting photos of their chemically dyed drinks, while the people growing the crop face ruin. The profits flow west, the poverty stays east, and the entire system is wildly unfair. But enough about global suffering. Let's talk about the only consequence you'll actually care about. Turmeric, this humble little orange root, was used by Georgian London to pass off a bland tin of dust as the magic key to authentic Indian cooking. It survived a hostile takeover by the United States government, and it's still propping up a woo-woo wellness industry. Yet, despite centuries of global exploitation, its only lasting impact on your life is permanently ruining your plastic food containers. Turmeric pigment chemically bonds with the porous plastic of your Tupperware. It'll stubbornly resist any amount of boiling water, bleach, or furious scrubbing. That ghostly yellow tinge is permanent. It'll outlive you, your children, and possibly the sun. An unwashable stain on our collective gullibility. A glaring neon reminder that we'll cheerfully swallow industrial dye and bankrupt farmers half a world away, all to pretend we're slightly more spiritual than we actually are. So, throw the radioactive plastic box in the bin. Accept that your chakras are destined to remain horribly misaligned, and maybe just drink a normal cup of coffee.